Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you're having a wonderful summer. If you're new here, I'm Erin, welcome. And I have a double page layout for you today. We're going to be working with this Lake Life collection and this stamp set called Gone Fishing. I'm very excited about this because I have these fishing photos. I have lots of fishing photos. I actually bought a couple paper packs, but I bought this stamp right away because of all the fishing icons, and it has some really nice Father's Day and retirement sentiments as well. But I definitely bought it for scrapbooking because there is this amazing die set that you can also purchase. So there's a stamp set and the coordinating die set, and this makes like a whole tackle box, and I am definitely using this on today's layout. And then there's some dies that cut out the coordinating stamps, and this little guy looks like a salmon to me. There's like little waves, all sorts of just fishing tackle, but the salmon's going to be perfect because I'm working on my Alaska album and we went salmon fishing on the river. Did we do well? Yes, we definitely maxed out and got our limit for the day, and it was a super fun day. Definitely one of my husband's favorites. Actually, all of us, we enjoyed the fishing immensely. So I have several photos. Let's see here. I've got 7 photos. Some of them, these smaller ones, are 3 by 3. And let me show you how I decided what size to print my photos. I was looking for a little inspiration. I print my photos at home, so sometimes, I'm like, what size do I want to make everything? So I will often look at a sketch for some inspiration and then know what size to print my photos. I don't always do it that way, maybe 50% of the time, but this is a sketch from the Creative Design Team Volume 2 12 by 12 sketchbook. So you can see there's 3 photos. Now they have a 5 by 7. I just went with a 4 by 6, and that's going to be this one here. That is a true 4 by 6, and then I've got these 2 photos that will be for here, another 4 by 6 for here, and then my 3 by 3 photos. Now the sketchbooks give you all of the measurements you need to create this, but I think I'm going to vary this just a bit. There is a coordinating sticker sheet that goes along with the Lake Life collection, and I do have the workshop. So there's a couple sheets of this specialty paper with the little fish on there. So I think I want to use that today. But let me just clear these out of the way and grab my Versamats, and we will get started. So I mentioned using an inspiration sketch as a jumping off point to determine what size I want to print my photos. I do not always do that, and if I don't have kind of a jumping off point, I will still print my photos in varying sizes to give me more flexibility on the layout. If they're all 4 by 6s, it kind of limits where you can put things because they're taking up more real estate on the layout. So if I don't have an idea, I will print my favorite focal photos larger. So those will either be a 4 by 6, or I often print in a 4 by 5.5 just because of the format the iPhone takes them in, and you can't always crop them. Like this one, it was a selfie, so we're kind of zoomed in, and if I cropped that to a 4 by 6, it would have cut off too much of our faces. So sometimes you just can't zoom in. So, larger photos will be printed, our favorite photos will be printed larger, and then I like to have some squares, so I will do smaller 3 by 3 or 4 by 4 squares, and then of course 3 by 4s. And having a mix of sizes, like I said, just increases the potential for variation in your layout design. But since we are working with a sketch on this one, we do know right where these are going to go, and I have my they kind of have something, I'm just roughly setting these, but basically it goes like that. And then what I was thinking is bringing in for my bottom strip of paper, I tend to put the heavier colors on the bottom. And then this one is a wood grain from the current Mix-in collection. So if you're familiar with Close to My Heart, they always had their paper collections, and then they had mix-ins that coordinate along with those current paper collections. So this is kind of what I was thinking, but I can't help myself. I was playing around and I thought, well, what if we just kind of put something on the sides? And the reason why I'm thinking this is I kind of am envisioning, I have these die cuts, The Lake Life coordinating die cuts came with these really cute faux wood grain paperboard little grassy borders, and I'm envisioning just this little river scene across the bottom. And I thought, well, maybe I can use this little wave here. I got a piece of tape stuck to it. So this little die cuts out the top of a wave and you can make it continuous. So what I'm picturing is a little like blue river with a grass in the foreground over the front of the river. I just kind of see it and think it's going to be cute. So this, by running my strips on the outside edge of the paper, I think it's going to lend itself better to that design. So I'm going to go cut these down and I'll be right back. So we've got our little trout paper here that's going to go on the outside, and then I've got a strip of that faux or that wood grain paper that's going to tie in very nicely with my embellishments. So I'm thinking kind of like this. We're still going to use that sketch to place our photos, but we're just going to alter the paper design. So, you know, it's something just, you know, again, showing the versatility of sketches and how you can use just a little bit of the sketch, and or you can make it exactly. So something like this. But I am also considering using this collection. This is Seabrook, which is kind of like a bluish green, and I'm thinking of maybe putting this instead of the white. Now I want to do my little river on the bottom, and I'm going to use Glacier for that. So we want to make sure that's going to stand out. But this is just a kind of a lot of white space, and I thought bringing in some color will help my photos stand out because they're already matted on white or you know, on white paper printed with a white border, but because there's a lot of blue in the photos, I think they're going to pop off of this background. So I'm going to switch these out really quick. We'll save the white for another day and use the Seabrook. So this is the darker side of Seabrook that I'm going to use. Close to My Heart cardstock is two-toned. And let me get this adhered down. Oh my gosh, I'm like fumbling mess here. If you just use a little bit of removable glue dots in opposing corners, you can adhere these down so that they're not wiggling around. If you're using a glass mat or Versamat, I do get asked a lot about these Versamats, and they were a Close to My Heart product, so they're no longer available. There's already one in that corner. So if you're careful when you peel off your last project, you can reuse those glue dots. So I know this is a Close to My Heart branded paper pack and it's new, and yes, it is very confusing. So if you're new here, I just want to explain that Stampin' Up purchased some of the Close to My Heart branded product as Close to My Heart was closing down. So they are releasing that each month, and that is where this paper collection came from. So I'm going to go ahead and ink these up, and then I already know I want them here so we can commit and glue them down. Let me go ahead and grab my ink color. I'm going to use Mocha. I really like the brown tones with this collection, and we'll just ink up the edges here. So this particular adventure took place in the summer of 2023, so last summer, and we were fishing out of Kenai, and the river was called Castleoff River, if I'm saying that right. It's spelled with a K. It was absolutely gorgeous, and we left early in the morning, so just at daybreak, and our guide, he's running late. He's having truck problems. He texts us, and he's like, I'll be there. I'm really sorry. He rolls in this ratty old pickup, and there's just stuff everywhere. This guy's one of those guys, you like him because he's super nice, but he's chaos. So there's trash and coffee cups and fast food bags rolling around, you know, young guy. And it was funny. So he picked us up and took us down to the river, suited us up with our waders, and off we went. And it was absolutely beautiful. Now that we have our base layout down, we can bring our photos back in, and again, just laying them out how the sketch has them. So I am going to overlap my photos just a bit. You don't have to do that. I kind of like that collage look on occasion, so I am opting to do that. Now this one, I'm facing in, so we wanted this on the outside. These two we're going to place down on the bottom, and I am, again, overlapping these, and I do want to bump these up, and then
I want the photos here on the same level. So you can see those are on the same top level. And then even though the one on the right is smaller, it won't matter because these two little photos are going to overlap the bottom and you won't see that it is shorter than the one on the left.
So I have a strip of Glacier cardstock that is 1 inch by 12. I don't think I'm gonna stop it here, but we'll just cut it for 12 inches for now. And we're gonna make our little wave. So as I mentioned, this little guy here is you can make it continuous. So I'm gonna start it just slightly off of the piece of paper here. And you wanna use a little Post-it removable tape. This is my favorite for holding my dies in place. It's just the perfect tackiness. So we don't want this to shift as it goes through. So I'm just going to secure both ends with a little tape, and I'm kind of, wanting it straight with the top of the edge of our little strip of paper here. A crafty friend, Terry, hooked me up with the little Stampin' Up mini machine. I do have the big electric, it's the Gemini Junior die cutting machine, which I got because I wanted an electric model, but sometimes, believe it or not, it's big and it's over there. I have to get up and walk across the room. Not that that's the end of the world, but it's slow. It's slower because you have to wait for it to go all the way through. So this has been kind of nice because if you just have a little something quick you want to die cut, it goes much faster. So a couple things, I learned this from my friend Kelly. She discovered if you stagger the plates, they do go in a little bit easier, because if it's all just one thickness, if you've got them lined up at the end, and this goes for the bigger die cutting machine too, it can be a little bit harder to start. So just by staggering, offsetting the little sandwich a little bit, it will make it much easier to grab. And then I also hear with these mini machines, people complain about them being wobbly. So, like moving around on the desk. Now I scrapbook standing up. So I think that makes a big difference because of my body position. I'm standing up and I'm putting pressure on it. So you can see it's not wobbling at all. Now, if I were sitting down, which I did try just to see, because what are people talking about? And it does wobble around a little bit more, but yeah, I like it. So that's my 2 cents on the die cutting machine. So you can see we're going to keep going. We have this nice edge, and can you see the embossing in there? It not only gives you that little wave, but there's an embossed pattern in the water. So I think that's a really nice extra little detail. So now what we're going to do is just line this up again, and we're just continuing on across our piece here. So we want to make sure those connect, and if not, no big deal. I can line up my scissors and give it a little trim.
Now, I always say you don't need to have the mini machine. If you have a full-size die cutting machine, that is sufficient for all your die cutting needs. This is definitely a luxury item. And if I hadn't received this from my crafty friend Terry, I might not have bought it. But now that I have it, I really do like it. So I'm kind of glad that it worked out. I'm going to trim this little edge off here, and then we can go ahead and I'll create a second one off camera. I do want to add a little bit of inking, and it's going to help that embossed detail stand out more. So I'm going for a tone on tone. I'm using my Glacier ink and a blending brush, and we're just going to go along the top. The bottom's going to be covered, so I'm basically catching the top of the paper, and I'll hold this up here in a moment, and you can see the inking will define those embossed textured waves that the die added to the paper. Inking the edges is the simplest way to dress up a die cut, and you can see how it kind of highlights the detail in the embossed area.
Now, if you do not have the die cuts that came along with this collection, you can, turn to your Cricut. There's lots of grass images where you could cut this and just use brown paper. And if you even wanted that wood grain, look for a wood texture stamp. I know many of us have a lot of texture stamps, especially if you've been following me for a while, because I just love them and use them all the time. So we're going to line these up, and then I will snip off the remainder there. So let's just go ahead and give that a little trim. Actually, what I'm going to do is go this way. So it's easier to flip your mat over, and then maybe we want that over the the brown. Flip your mat over and cut from the other side to get a nice flush edge, but here what we're going to do, because that's already squared off, is just tuck it underneath this side, and then we'll have that already flat for us. And then this, I think I want this to kind of extend all the way rather than having it stop. I think that's kind of a fun little look. So we'll go ahead and do that to the opposite side and trim this off. We can always save these extra little pieces and put them on a card, or maybe even a tag. Like you could adorn the bottom of a tag with a little wave. I think that would be cute. So we'll sneak this guy under here and bring in our grass. I love it. Now I also have these little cattails, and I thought it would be cute to add a little height to this section here. I'm going to put my journaling here. So I have room for the journaling. We could put the cattails here, and I just think it'd be a fun little detail. Now since the die cuts are no longer available, I just want to point out there is the Lake Life card making workshop kit that is still available. So this is a whole kit where you get their slimline and A2 size card bases and coordinating envelopes, a whole roll of shimmer trim, which is awesome. Let me show you what shimmer trim is. It is an adhesive backed shimmery ribbon. It's awesome. So you just peel that and it sticks. So very easy to use, adds a little bit of sparkle and glams up your projects. So I really love shimmer trim, and that's the same pine color in there. And then I'm pointing it out because we have cattails. There's cattail die cuts in here that are super cute. You can see how they've used them on those cards. And those are the cards, if you follow the workshop exactly, you can make 4 of each of those cards. So 16 total. But yeah, little water stamp and then some sentiments, a little fish and the duck. So there is an option for cattails there. And to give you one more idea, in the Stampin' Up! Annual catalog, there's the Lily Pond Lane Suite collection, and there is an adorable stamp in here with cute little ducks and cattail dies in there. And I caved. I did order this one, and I said, I'm like, that's cute, but I don't know how I would ever use it. And it wore me down because I have a koi pond, and there's koi paper in here, and then I love the little lily pads there. I grow lily pads, and then the cattails. So yeah, this one's on its way to me, and I will be creating fun things for you with this collection. But yes, another option for cattails. So now that we have the base of our layout designed, I'm thinking a title up here. This sketch had the title kind of over here, but we don't have a whole lot of room. I think I'm going to put it there. And then I want to use the little tackle box from this, which is a big element. It does fit on an A2 card size, but I want to make sure I have room to get that in. So from Acorn Cardstock, I did cut this out. Since it's two-toned, I cut the back piece on the darker side and the top piece on the lighter side, so you can see more of a contrast there. And then you have all of these little bits and pieces. So I did stamp the bobber, and you don't have to color that because it has 2 pieces to it. So I stamped the outside outline of the bobber, and then I chose a melon color because my friend's wearing melon in her shirt, and then salmon have kind of that pinky melony tone to them. So I stamped the bottom in the melon and then also the fly, and I want to kind of put these into my little tackle box here. So you can just kind of put the little shapes in here. It's so cute. This one here is like one of those little spinner things that flash in the water. So I cut that from silver foil paper so it looks like metal. And then there's a bunch of hooks. So you can just kind of, I also cut these from silver foil paper. So, you just have a bunch of hooks in one little compartment of your tackle box. And I think that's going to be cute. So something like that. But what I'm thinking, before I get carried away, let me glue this down real quick.
You don't need to go crazy with the glue, and it definitely helps to have a fine precision tip glue like this one here, the Barely Art glue. And I'm just dotting around the edge. If it does squeak out the side a little bit, it will dry clear, so not a huge deal. So we'll go ahead and line this up, slide it into place. I have seen a lot of cards with this set, and they are so cute. I wanted to make some for you and just ran out of time. So I'm thinking that this is going to look cute as a layer behind the photo here. And then we can add all of our little tackle box accessories. So I left just enough room to where you will be able to see these in the little different compartments of our tackle box. So we'll put the bobber up top there, and then let's add all of our hooks down in this center one. And if it was a real life tackle box, they would all be tangled together. If you fish with kids, you spend more time untangling things than you do fishing, which was not the case on this day. But yeah, a lot of fun memories untangling things with kids.
I'm looking at the sticker sheet and I don't really see a title I want for the fishing layout. So best days are spent at the lake. We're on the river. Not that it has to be literal, but still, life's better at the lake. I could do something with water, but I thought about using my Cricut to do like a gone fishing type of thing. But I looked through my stamp set and there's this one here, Let's Go Fishing, or I'd Rather Be Fishing, Hook, Line, and Sinker. This is really old. It's called Let's Go Fishing. This was a close to my heart stamp set. But we could use Hook, Line, and Sinker there. But I have these paddles and I really want to use them. You know, when you see in cabins, they have them kind of crossed over the mantle for decor or something like that. So I'm kind of picturing something like this framing in my title. So if we used Hook, Line, and Sinker, that could work, but I'm picturing maybe a circular element. So let's try Let's Go Fishing. If we don't like it, we can always switch to the other one. That's the beauty of stamps, right?
I'm going to grab some white paper. I've got my mocha ink again. We'll pick that up with an acrylic block. And I want to make sure I have the right size circle. So these are my Spotlight on Nature dies. You guys know how much I have been enjoying these. So we're just going to make sure that this first fits the stamp and then looks good in this spot. So you can always just get a visual by tucking it in there. I think we need to go bigger. Let's try this larger one here and see how that looks. Maybe we can overlap the paddles. I think that's the right one. Let's make sure it's going to fit with the stamp there. And yeah, that's going to be perfect. So as we are stamping on our paper, we want to make sure we have enough room for the top portion of the circle. I can go ahead and pick this up with my block here. And then we will stamp it down. Actually, I'm going to leave this circle there as kind of a guide. And we'll ink it up, tap, 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 move it around your ink pad. And then when you do stamp down, give it just a moment to soak in. And let's see, yep, that is good. So we can run this through our die cutting machine. And I'll bring this back into frame. And now we have our title. We'll slide that right there and then bring our paddles down on top. And I think that is super cute. Now my favorite photo here on the left, I want to add another layer. So I went through and grabbed all of the potential papers that could work. I don't like the wood grain with the wood grain border in the background. We've got this one, we could use that one, but we also have a few others. I don't have too much green with that one. This one is the glacier color and there's kind of a fishing net pattern. I like that one. Let's go with that one. So I cut a extra large frame. This is 5.5 by 7.5. I gut out the center that's hidden behind the photo just to save that paper. That is part of the workshop, so I don't have another piece of that. So I want to salvage everything I possibly can. And then we can bring all of these back in.
Off camera, I went ahead and got everything adhered down, and I did add pine green photo mats to these two center photos. I felt that it needed some depth. We needed some of this green color brought in. And then I matted my title circle on a circle of glacier, so you can see that outline there. Just a little something to give it more presence. So now I want to create some of these little salmon fish. What I'm picturing, because we have this big stringer of salmon, I thought it would be fun to maybe add just like some salmon hanging down on a stringer. I kind of thought about doing like a great big long stringer across, and I could, but I do want to leave that for my title. So this little guy here, I'm going to color him in. I already have this little salmon on my, I'm calling him a salmon. It could be a trout, but you know, it looks like a salmon. But you could, if you don't like coloring, there is a top layer, so you can get that two-tone look. It looks like this one coordinates perfectly with this one to give you that different shading. But again, I'm going to color mine in. So I think let's go with 3. Where'd my scrap paper go? We've got my little piece of paper. I'm going to use intense black ink. You want to use an alcohol marker friendly ink, and we'll ink this little guy up 3 times. I'm just thinking maybe a stringer hanging down. So yeah, 3. I think 5 would be kind of overkill in that area. So we will stamp this little guy, and then you do need to give him enough time to dry, and then you want to leave room around for the coordinating die cut. So make sure you don't stamp your images too closely together. Okay, I'll give those just a few minutes to dry.
We'll set that aside and move on with the embellishing. I have a couple tags. This one here is from the bonus die cuts, and then I cut this from the pattern paper with the tag die. So I'm thinking just a little layering up in this area here. This is something I do all the time, and I really love the use of tags just for filling in an empty space.
For my salmon, I have my Spectrum Noir TriBlends. I have coral, and then this is the coral blend, and then the brown gray blend. So if you're looking at the salmon, their tops are kind of the brown gray, and they do have a little whitish belly, but they start turning pink during this time of the year. So let's go ahead and I will zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm using the coral blend, and I'm going to use the darkest color just along the very bottom here.
So we did learn that the salmon that are more pink in color, you don't want to eat them. Our guide explained, and I quote, "They are basically zombie fish and their meat is mush. They're no good." So he would come, when we'd catch one, he'd come around and inspect it, and if it was too pink, he would throw it back. So these salmon are spawning. They're swimming up river, and they're not taking care of themselves. They have one mission on their brain, and so they're not eating. They're basically just living off of their body fat, and then they start to turn pink, and it just makes the meat kind of nasty. So I thought that was interesting. I did not know that. So I am just using the lighter color in the middle here to blend these in. We'll go back to our lightest of the coral. I have sped this up quite a bit. I'm going to color the one, and then we'll do the rest off camera. So I'll hold that up. Doesn't that look pretty? Not good for eating, but excellent for embellishing because it adds more color, right? I want these at varied heights, like they're all hanging from a stringer. And to string them, I have the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. This is a great pack of neutral colors, so I was super excited to pick this up. And I think maybe let's try the brown one here. So either one of these colors would look good, white or this tan. Let's go with the tan. So what I'm going to do is stick a micro glue dot to the backside of the little fish's face there, and that will hold the twine secure to the fish while I'm positioning everything. So I think I'm just going to do 3 separate little strings, and we'll cut it at the base of my photo. That glue dot will help hold those little fish in place too. And I think I might pop some of them up. So I'm repeating the process, but again, I want them at different heights. So I'm just going to kind of hold it up and eyeball it. And let's get our last one on here. We did end up shipping all of our salmon back home, and my stash is dwindling, but we have been enjoying it. It's so delicious, and there's nothing more satisfying than knowing you caught it yourself, right?
My friend Jody sent me some goodies. She is a creative memories advisor, and Jody and I met over our love of Close to My Heart and have just connected over the years. and she was so sweet. It was so thoughtful. She sent me a little thank you package full of like little bits and paper packs and things like that, and she knows me very well because they were Western, kind of masculine, travel, and outdoorsy. So how perfect is that? Thank you so much, Jody, for thinking of me. I love them. So I thought maybe I could use some of these. I could have used that for a title, but I don't want to bring in the red per se, although red does look good with this collection. There's a little boat because we were on the rowboat. I could do something like that. I don't want to use this little fish because I don't know, it's too different from those fish. But yeah, lots of cute little bits and bobs, keeping it real. I could use that, and I like this hook, line, and sinker. I kind of like that over there. But yeah, lots of fun little things. And I did stamp a fishing pole. This little fishing pole is from the Let's Kayak stamp set. This was a more recent one from Close to My Heart, so you might have that in your stash. Like there's some lily pads there too, so cute. So I kind of want to frame in this corner. So I was thinking of building a little cluster somehow, and I kind of want to bring in more of this little salmony color somehow. So I colored the fishing pole with the same coral of the fish bellies, but what if we brought in like a little cardstock circle to bring in more color? Let's try it. I went back to my Spotlight on Nature dies and chose the same decorative edging as my title, and look how perfectly that matches with Bonnie's shirt. She wore this same hat. I did a Tracy's Crab Shack layout and brought in this melon color, and it looked really nice, but it just kind of, yeah, you can see right away that really makes that pop. So without the circle, it's still cute, but with the circle, it makes a big difference. So we're gonna do that, and then let's try to just wiggle this guy maybe like that. Sneak the fishing pole in there. That's cute. I really like it. So now I need to bring that color elsewhere. I do have it in the bobber, but maybe if we swap out one of these tags and kind of draw that melon color up, let's see how that looks. Maybe we could just kind of sneak it in with the others here. It might be too many. Let's try, I like this one a lot. I want to keep that one. Let's bring it away from the bobber. Let's bump this one over. I want to make sure that it says Fishing Buddies. So I don't want to put that behind the photo. And then let's just sneak just a little bit just to bring in the color. That's cute. I like that. We'll save this one for another project. Let's go ahead and ink up the edge with the same mocha ink so it matches the rest of our tags. And then I'm looking at the sticker sheet, and there's a tiny little sticker that says Fishing Fun. So we might be able to bring this one in and layer it over the tag. We can kind of line it up. Sometimes I like to offset them. No, that's not quite right there either. Let's layer it over the top of the photo. That's it. That's where it needed to be. So I'm going to use that same Essentials twine pack and add some string to the tops of my tags. So I doubled it up, poked it through, and then we're just going to loop it through on itself. Very simple, nothing fancy here. And we'll repeat the process for the other tag. And then my tails are a bit long, so I will trim those down just a tad. But it's always nice to add some fiber to the tops of your tags. It just adds a nice little texture and finishing touch. So we'll give them a little haircut, snippy snippy, and we'll call that good. I had a lot to say, so I typed my journaling up on a document in a text box and printed it out on my Avery Clear shipping labels. And I do have a full video showing some journaling tips, so I can leave that in the description box below. But I want to just random side note here for those of you that like to travel. My friend Bonnie here, who books and organizes all of our trips, we vacation every year, she now is creating these notebooks that you can take with you, and they are an invaluable resource. So it has like your whole itinerary in order, but then when it comes to, sometimes I make notes on the experience, tickets are in there, but when it comes to documenting, it's so handy because all of the details are in there. You know, the company you chartered for your excursion, what lake it is. So it has just been amazing because I don't know about you, but when you finally get around to documenting your, photos, sometimes you don't remember all of the details, and having something like that has just been kind of amazing. So I just removed a portion of that, and I'm lining this up, and then I can peel off the rest of it, smooth that down, and it just pretty much disappears into the background. I thought about bringing a little bit of the melon color down here, but there's a lot going on this layout, so I'm going to say that my hair is that color that brings it down. So there we go. But you'll notice, you know, if you look at each page individually, I've still got that visual triangle going on, and you can kind of see it over here with the cattails and then the tags, and then, you know, this is up, but you still kind of have that framing in the photos which directs your eye to the center. So even though we have kind of a lot going across, I feel like it still works. And aren't those fish cute? I'm really happy with how my little scene on the bottom turned out, and all of the little, you know, mix and match embellishments from different stamp sets and different you know, different things in my stash. But this tackle box was definitely a must for me, and I'm so glad I was able to work that into the layout. I think it's just super cute. I won't take up too much more of your time, but if you're watching this in real time, tomorrow, July 3rd, bonus days begin. So when you shop between July 3rd and July 31st, you earn $5 back for every $50 you spend. So if you spend $100, you're going to get $10 back. So 10%, and how it works is after you place your order, they're going to email you a code. Save those emails, write it down, take a screenshot so it's handy on your phone, and then in August, between August 1st and 31st, you can redeem those coupon codes. Super easy. When you're placing your order, there's a spot to redeem the codes, and yeah, so who doesn't like to save 10%, right? And one thing I do want to tell you, I read in the FAQs, if you are like me, you may already have items sitting in your shopping cart. If they're already in that cart prior to the 3rd, they won't count for the bonus days. So clear those items out of your cart, go put them on a favorites list, or just make a note of them, and then when you go to place your order on July 3rd, then you can add those items back in, and they'll qualify for the bonus day coupons. So I just, like I said, I have things in my cart, so I didn't want that to happen to you. As always, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video, and everything I used can be found in the description box below, along with links to the sketchbook and those journaling tip videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.